Now loading podcast, period.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Podcast Period, the internet's stupidest podcast. My name is Ben, and with me, as always, is my co-host David.
What's up, guys?
So this week, or this episode, is the long-awaited 21 Pilots album drop review, Scaled and Icy. David and I have been waiting for a new 21 Pilots movie for going on like a year or two now? Basically ever since the last album dropped, but it satiated us for a little bit at least. So,
did you hear what you called it?
What?
You accidentally called it a movie.
No, I said album. Last album.
You said last album, but before that you had said movie. When you talked about it being over a year, you accidentally said 21 Pilots movie.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, you messed me up now. Jeez. So we're on. This has been our first movie review since Circles by Mac Miller, which is probably over a year now, or almost a year. I don't remember when we did it, but it's been a good long while, and we wanted to do an album review. So this one came out at the perfect time, because I told David, and I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I was seriously considering being like, you know what? I haven't found anything to review. Let's just go back and listen to Trench and review that for the podcast, because why not? But now we've got this, which I think David and I both have some opinions on. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to... So the format of our little album reviews are obviously, you're not going to hear it, but we're going to listen to about 30 seconds of the song to kind of refresh our memory on what the song is and the vibe that it gives us. And then we're going to get into what we think about the songs. We'll give them a rating, and at the end, we'll give the album a kind of total rating. And then I think for this one, since we have past experience with 21 Pilots, we should kind of rate it against the past stuff. I think that'll be interesting.
I didn't know you was going to want to do that.
Yeah, I think I have my answer on how I think it rates between everything, but I want to hear what you have to say too. So, yeah. This is, 11 songs for this album?
Yep.
So it shouldn't be super long, but I guess we'll see. First song on the album, the opener, Good Day. We're going to go ahead and listen to that, and then we'll talk about it.
Sunshine is a buzz in the light. I'll be swinging out. I know it's hard to believe me. It's a good day.
Okay. So the album opens up with this. It took me a couple listens to get into this one, but I think I like it. I don't know if it's my favorite song on the album, but it's got a vibe to it. I like it. It's not I don't know. I'm gonna come out and say it, and it might ruin our later discussion, but I like this album. I do. But I like Trench more. Especially as an album, I like Trench more than this one. This album just kind of feels all over the place, and I don't want to get into it anymore, because I think we'll kind of figure that out as we keep going through the track list, but yeah, I don't know. I like this song. It's got like a happy-go-lucky feeling to it, but I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like a super standout for me. I can bop to it, but it's not like the best song on the album for me. So I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 5.
Well, I agree with everything you said, except I definitely give it a higher rating.
Yeah.
It's not my top song for the album. And I didn't expect it to be yours either. The beat is good. I like that it opened the album. It kind of set the mood for the rest of it. It is kind of all over the place. But we'll get into that later. I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's not the best, but it's a pretty solid song.
4 is fair, I guess. I guess I'm just comparing it to everything else on the album, and it's not like...
Oh,
There's
well, if I
definitely
had to
songs
compare it
that-
to other things, then it's probably closer to the 3.5.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's much to say about this one. It's like I said, it's happy-go-lucky. It's like a nice jaunty piano tune.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like anything crazy lyrically or instrumentally. I don't know. I like it. Not the best song on the album, but it's fine. Let's move on to the second single that they dropped, which is the second track on the album, Choker.
I know it's over. I was born a choker. Nobody's coming for me.
So I would have to say, since we've reviewed the singles, the song has definitely grown on me more, which I kind of figured that it would.
Mm-hmm.
The only gripe that I really have about it now is that Tyler seems just so bored while he's singing this song. He doesn't, except for the chorus, there's not a huge amount of emotion behind what he's saying. And maybe the lyrics will kind of push that forwards. Looking at him, I don't really see a reason to sing it like that, but I don't know. I still like the song. I like the instrumentation a lot more than I said I did when we reviewed the single, or when we talked about it when it was still just a single.
The opening instrumentation.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think I would like it a little bit more if he put a little bit more emotion behind his voice during the verses and everything. Still a fun song, but yeah, I like it. I'd probably give this. I think I'd go closer to. I don't know if I want to give it a 4. I'll say a 3.75 out of 5.
Interesting. Valid points. I don't know. I don't know if I call it lack of emotion. I could see where you're coming from on this, especially during the verses, because we said it during the individual singles review, and I'm sure you're kind of thinking the same thing now. The chorus sold the song, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love this chorus. It sold me on the song since day one, and it's pushed this one to the top of the list for this album for me. This is my number one song.
This is your number one?
This is my number one.
Seriously, out of everything?
So I think we're going to have a very varying difference in opinions as we go forward.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I like the song, but I definitely think there's better ones on the album, in my opinion.
Okay, I'm interested to see how this goes. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a solid 4.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the first single that they dropped, Shy Away.
Don't you shy away. Manifest the ceiling when you shy away. Searching for that feeling just like an I love you. It isn't words like a song he wrote.
Out of the 2 singles that they dropped, I think this is definitely my favorite of the 2. I really like the song, especially the chorus, but the whole thing is I don't know, it's just a really good song. I think I'd put this one at a 4.
I called this one my favorite when we were reviewing just the 2 singles that dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for me, Choker kind of took this one's place. It's very near and dear to my heart, though. It's definitely at the top of the album for me. I really do like this song. And I could see where you would get this one as your favorite for the singles. Like I said, it's the chorus on Choker that sold me. As a complete song, I'd honestly say this one is better. So this is going to sound a little strange considering I think Choker's my favorite and I only gave it a 4. This one's closer to like a 4.25 for me. As an entirety, it is a better song. I really like Choker's chorus. That's really what it is.
That's
it's
fair.
all about the chorus. But this one is better as a complete picture.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I like the song. This one still isn't at the top of my list. We're gonna get to that here soon, but it's probably near the top. It's definitely in my top 5 for the album. So
it's 3 for me.
Yeah.
It's in 3rd.
All right, let's move on to the 4th track on the album, The Outside.
Everybody stand in line, one by one, take a hit, join the club. Kids will try to take my vibes, or am I on the outside?
I want to hear what you think about this one first, before I go.
Okay, I already know this has got to be your number 1. Am I right? Okay.
It's between this one and Saturday. I think this one takes the top spot.
Wow. Okay. So, first of all, this is definitely like the summer song to hear like blasting at the pool. Like if you're at the pool, enjoying the water park, or doing whatever, this is the type of song that I want to hear while I'm just lounging in my lazy river, because that's where you're going to find me at the water park. That or the wave pool. So, it's a very good song. There's really, really good parts to it. I like the chorus in this. But there are so many parts that are like all over the place with this. I don't like... To me, it feels like inconsistency. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels very inconsistent, and it suffers on my list because of that. It's not a bad song, and honestly, this entire album kind of does that. There's nothing on this album that I want to get rid of, and that's kind of opposite of Trench, because there are songs on Trench that I could just deal without and not care about. Same thing with Circles, and the same thing with Hollywood's Bleeding with Post Malone and Mac Miller. I don't feel like that with any of these songs. But this one kind of suffers because of the inconsistency. It's like solidly in the middle of the pack for me.
Where would you rate it at?
It's like a 3.5, maybe a 3.75.
Okay. I enjoy every part of this song. I like the like. I don't want to call it plucky because it's not on a guitar, but the sort of like synthy piano instrumentation.
Yeah.
I like the. In spite of what I said about Choker, and the way that there wasn't really any emotion behind his voice during the verses, this is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
But he literally starts out the song singing, "I'm already bored," so it fits it. I don't know. I like how it works here, and then the chorus is kind of boppy, and then it's got that rap part later on.
Yeah.
I'm a Megalodon, blah blah blah. I am Megatron. Mwah! Beautiful. I love it. This is probably.
And I think that's where I call it inconsistency. We go from the plucky, for lack of a better word, syntho thing to like really solid rap beats. Like, it's solid. I've got no complaints about it. But then we go into something else, and I don't know, it feels like it's swinging all over the place.
I could see where you're coming from, but I think the transition is smooth enough that it doesn't give me whiplash or anything. I really liked it. I don't think that I can give any song on this album a 5, just because of my feelings on the album as a whole.
Yeah.
But
you notice
this comes really close. I think this is probably a 4.5, maybe a 4.75.
Okay.
So,
would you be disappointed to know that this is number 8? The way I have this album listed now.
I mean, not necessarily. Honestly, the way that we were talking before we started recording, and let me preface this.
We kind of intentionally left it vague.
Yes, we whenever we talked about the album, I think I gave David like maybe 1 or 2 short sentences, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And he knows that was because we're saving the entire discussion for this, because we don't want to spoil anything. But I could already tell that, even just like through text messages and from what little we did talk about it, that your opinions on most of the songs were probably going to be different than mine were.
Yeah. Which I like that we kind of kept it like that too, though, because I found myself I didn't want to be influenced by like trying to agree with you on this. Like, sometimes you'll say something and I'll like swing around to it and like, okay, I get where you're coming from. And other times I don't. And I started to with this, specifically Saturday and The Outside. And I was like, okay, no, I'm leaving them where I feel they belong, regardless of Ben's opinions, and that's just the way it's going to be. Because there's reasons why I left them where I did.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're keeping this one a little bit more divisive, because I think even on the other 2 album reviews that we did, we were there were definitely, like with Post Malone and the Internet song, you loved that song.
That's like the biggest discrepancy so far.
I hated it.
Yes, you really did.
That was probably the biggest moment of contention between the two of us on the 2 albums. I think we came close with one of the songs on Circles, but even then I was like, yeah, it's an okay song. It's not something that I hate. I probably wouldn't put it on my cut of the album.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like it's bad either. So, yeah, I'm glad that we're not necessarily agreeing on everything with this. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the 5th song on the album, Saturday.
Slow down on Monday, not a sound on Wednesday, might get loud on Friday, but on Saturday, we paint the town.
Okay. So this is I said it on the last track review, so I kind of spoiled it. But this is probably my second favorite song on the album. I really enjoy, and I'm honestly completely surprised that that's my opinion, because I watched this. I think the lyric video came out a couple of days before the album did for this song, and I listened to it and I was like, God, I don't know about this song, dude. But as I listened to it, especially in context of the album, it grew on me a lot. I really enjoy it. I kind of enjoy the fact that it's simple, and honestly, maybe the fact that I thought it was going to be similar to you remember that song from when we were in like middle school or whatever, Friday, Rebecca Black.
Yes.
I started listening to this and I was like, oh God, this, I mean, listen, it doesn't sound anything like Friday, but just the fact that it was called Saturday, it was kind of giving me that vibe at first. I was like, oh no.
Okay.
Oh no.
I could see that. That's an interesting take.
But as I kept listening to it, like I said, especially in context of the album, it definitely grew on me. I like that it's pretty simple. This feels like kind of what you said. Like this and The Outside would be a nice like sort of pool party background music. It's not necessarily something that you have to dive too deep into. You put it on a party playlist, you set it and forget it. You know?
This is something that you would very easily like if you were having like a karaoke night or something like that. This is something that people...
Yes.
I like how you said it. It's simple. Something that people could pick up very quick and get singing along with it very fast. Definitely by the second listening. Arguably by the first, because it is pretty simple and it's kind of repetitive. This song, if I could cut like the last 40 seconds out of it, honestly would probably be way higher than it is. I cannot stand, and this is where it completely falls apart, I cannot stand where closer to the end. I like the little dialogue that they throw in where I don't know who it is. I'm assuming it's his wife.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the dialogue that they throw into it. Don't get me wrong. But it's the stops in the music before that. It sounds too much like it's skipping. Like it's a CD skipping. And it pisses me off. And I think it's my Bluetooth in my car, like, having a glitch, and it's intentionally done in the song.
Yes,
and it just pisses me off to the point where that's why it's so low.
That's
really is.
That's probably one of my only gripes with this song, because if it was a beat or two longer, it would sound just fine. But you're right, it literally sounds just like a skip.
Yes.
It's such an unnatural timing in between when it stops and when it starts up again. It's I don't know. That's probably my one gripe with this thing, is that they should have, if they were going to keep it in, they need to make it a little longer.
Yes, because it just sounds like it's a skip or a glitch, and I can't stand it. It's seventh for that. Like I said, I like the dialogue, and honestly, if the dialogue was in there without that, it probably wouldn't upset me near as much. But then you add the dialogue on top of it, which is cool, but it does not flow with anything else in this song at all. So it feels like something else that's throwing the flow of the song off, and the entire culmination of those two things, it did make it to 7. So it did make it higher than The Outside, which, to your chagrin, might not be the best thing. But hey, I kept them together. I did pair them.
That's fair.
If it hadn't been for the last 40 seconds in this song, though, I swear to God, this would probably be like in the top 3. I love the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. It calls to me.
Yeah.
It's just that damn skip.
So I think this is probably like a 4. I'll say a 4.25 for me. What about you?
If I was to base it off the first minute and a half, or however long, because I don't know the exact timing that my issue comes into play, but let's just say it's the first minute and a half. Based on that, it's a solid 4.5, almost a 4.75. It is good. All in all, it's more like a 3.5. It's not the worst.
That goes down that much?
I really hate it that much. I could be completely wrong to criticize it as bad as I am because of that, but it really does piss me off that much.
Listen, the thing is, it's your personal opinion, so I can't knock it or anything. I'm just surprised. It goes down that much because of that.
And maybe it's because I have listened to it on. It could be the listening experience and how I'm doing it. Maybe if I was listening to it through like headphones, and I didn't have like the mental stigma that my car is messing up or my phone's messing up, like there may be a bad connotation because of how I'm listening to it associated with it, and maybe that's what's pissing me off more than anything else. But it really is unforgivable to me. I
That's
really
fair.
don't like it.
That's fair. All right, so now let's move on to the 6th track on the album, Never Take It.
They're trying hard to weaponize you and I would never take it. They're asking for a second try. You and I would never take it.
This song is okay. I don't have anything negative to say about it necessarily. I don't have anything extremely positive to say about it. It's a fine song. It's got a nice beat, got a nice rhythm to it. Choruses are fine. I can't say I have any issues with how things are being sung this time. And it builds up into the chorus really nicely. I do like the chorus on this, but this is pretty middle of the road for me as far as this album goes. So, I don't know. I'd probably go for maybe a 3.5 on this.
Okay. So, bad news first. It's at the bottom of my list.
Really? Okay.
But, and this is what's going to set the bar for this album. This sums up the album perfectly for me. Everything is kind of middle of the road. There is not one song that I absolutely love and would pick over any of the other previous songs that we've listened to and replace it as like my top song from them. But there's not one song in this album that I would ditch in a heartbeat. I like this song. There's nothing wrong with it. Like you said, it serves all points fairly. But every other song, I could identify one thing that I extremely liked more. There was a reason why they were higher. Mm-hmm. And this song just didn't have a reason to top any of the other songs. So it ended up at the bottom. But it's not like bottom of the barrel. It's just the way this one worked. It was weird.
Yeah.
Usually I have a very hard time of like deciphering where I want to put things. I had this album nailed down in like 3 days. I think I texted, this is Thursday, I think I texted him Monday. It's like, I'm done. I've got this wrapped up. I don't know why it was so easy this time around, but it really was. And every time I listen to it, there's certain things about certain songs that I'm like, why do I have this so low? And then it finishes out, I'm like, oh, that's the reason why. And the song's just one of those. It's like, I should give it a better chance, but then there's nothing that like elevates it higher.
Yeah. All right. So what would you rate it?
It's a 3.25.
That's fair. Okay, so let's move on to the 7th track, Mulberry Street.
Get out of our way. We're moving sideways. Welcome to Mulberry Street. Yeah. So move out of our way. We're pushing sideways. Keep sidewalk under your feet.
So I don't know if this stuck out to you or if this like wormed itself into your brain the way it did me. I can't remember the name of the damn song, but the opening to this reminds me so much of a certain Elton John song. I don't remember what it is. But it's not Rocket Man. Is it Crocodile Rock?
Oh my god. I can't think of it. And I didn't make that connection, but now that you say that, it's that piano.
Not Crocodile
That's what
Rock.
it does.
What is it? Hold on. All right. Famous Elton John song.
That's not gonna help you narrow anything down.
I think. Okay, hold on. I think I might. Hold on. I think it may have just given it to me.
It's so damn lucky.
Come on, play the. Let's go. That's not necessarily the one that I was thinking of, but it's close enough. Benny and the Jets.
Yes.
That piano sounds like exactly like that.
That's really good. That's a good one.
Anyway, besides that...
I can do the song to that kind of tune right now. That's really good. Okay, anyways.
I almost because of that, I really, really enjoyed this song. It's got like the same kind of 70s jaunty piano vibe that Benny and the Jets has. It's got... I don't know what it is about it, but I really, really like this. This is probably also in my top 5 if I had to like make a list. I really need to go through. I should have gone through before we sat down and make a list of them, but I didn't think to do that. So this is probably in my top 5. I really like the vibe of the piano, like I said, because it reminds me of Benny and the Jets, and the lyrics are good. It's got a nice flow to it. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably put this at 4.25, maybe a 4.5, but it's probably closer to a 4.25.
Okay, so let's just stick with the first 30 seconds. Oh my god, I love this song. It's really good. I like the attitude that this song brings. Getting out of our way and stuff like that. Like, this is like a song that puts other people in their place, and I like it. It's where it gets kind of muddy in the middle that kind of stuck this song in the middle. It's like, it's ninth, so it's 2 from the bottom, but it's, like I said, it's a really like good bottom to be at, so it doesn't really matter. I liked Saturday in the Outside just enough because I did have Mulberry Street higher, but there was parts of both those songs that just kept them higher, which then brought Mulberry Street down. Because the top 5 on this whole album will not move for me, period. They could switch around a little bit, like 1 might be 2 or 4 might be 5 or yada yada, but the top 5 are the top 5. There is no discussion with me about that. But everything else kind of just, they fell where they fell, and that's just the way it is. There's certain things that just, it was the middle of this song, it kind of brought it down a couple of notches. Or got outpaced by other things a couple of notches because it wasn't that great. But the beginning and the end, really good. I like it. I'd say it's like a 3.5 for me.
Fair. All right, let's move on to the 8th track, Formidable.
You just left, but can I take you everywhere we've ever been? I wanna see it all, no surprises. Yeah, you are formidable to me.
I have to say, I wish I could say the same as you and say that there wasn't a song that I didn't want on this album.
Really?
But I do not like this one. It's fine, but they have done... I mean, you can tell that this is one of those songs that Tyler has directed at his wife, but considering Tearing My Heart and... I can't remember the name of the one off of the last album, but they were so much better than this song. This is just, I don't know, you are formidable to me because you seem to know right where I want to go. Yeah, I'll follow you. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. But Tearing My Heart and God forbid, I still can't remember the name of the one off the last album, but they were like 30 million times better than this song. I am fine with it, but it could have been so much better, which is why I'm angry with it. It's fine. It's got to be like definitely bottom of the list. Got to be like a 2.5. I can't put it any higher than that.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay, so I'm not going to spare... I'm not going to spare. I'm not going to pour salt into the wounds and say that, like, this is, like, the top 5 for me.
I should hope not.
Because it's not. Would it be a consolation prize if I told you this was at the bottom of my list solidly for a while?
I mean, yeah, I'd say so. Where is it at now? Like 10?
It's at 6.
It's at 6?
And the reason why it's at 6 is the exact reason why you can't stand it. It was the love song of this album. It was like the summer love song of this album.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you say what you said about tearing my heart, okay, I get it. Maybe this is a perspective thing. Because you're right, it's obviously directed towards his wife in a sort of way. I get it. Maybe it's because I'm single and you're not.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. But I mean,
don't know.
I wasn't single when Trench came out, and I still really like the cutoff of that album.
But that
towards
didn't,
his wife.
I'm not saying that that's not better, though, because it is better. You're right. Out of all those songs, this is the bottom of that list. I just don't devalue it as much, and I don't know why. I get where you're coming from. For some reason, it worked for me, and it doesn't for you. But it was towards the bottom. But I like the message behind it. But you're right. It could have been a lot. It could have been a lot better. So
Yeah.
it may end up slipping a few points, honestly.
Yeah, this one is one that every time I've heard it, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. It's fine.
Okay.
Like, I'm not gonna say that it's like the worst song that I've ever heard or anything, because it's competently put together.
Is it the lyrics that get you more, or is it kind of like the
I
composition
just feel like
of the actual?
I feel like maybe it's less upbeat than I was expecting, because both Tear in My Heart and okay, I gotta look this up because I'm gonna kill myself if I don't remember that.
I want to know which one you're thinking of, because I can't place it right now either.
What is it? Smithereens.
Oh,
Yes, Smithereens.
yeah. But that was okay.
Both
so
of
if I had
those
to
were super upbeat, and this one seems pretty downtrodden. It's like it's trying to be one of those quintessential like 80s love songs, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely not what the other two were. They were definitely more upbeat. They were more like forward with the feelings. And this is, I mean, the lyricism and everything is fine. It kind of evokes the same feeling when you're looking at the lyrics, but it just doesn't work for me.
Okay. That's fair. I think it's the beat and the musical score, the instrumentals, that kind of saved this one more for me. I don't know. I get your point. If you had to say Smithereens, Tear in My Heart, and then this, what would your top be? Do you like Tear in My Heart more or Smithereens more?
I'd probably say Smithereens at the top out of the
I
three.
would too. Alright, I got you, broski.
All right, let's move on to the 9th track on the album, Bounce Man.
You should bounce, 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 man. Come to the house, man. I let my old lady know. You'll be in and out, 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 man. Float you a couple bands, then you head to Mexico. Yeah, I told you all along, running away don't make you wrong.
This one was pretty close to the bottom of my list at first, like the first few times I listened to the album, but this is another one of the ones that's really grown on me. I don't know. This is another one that also feels very happy-go-lucky, and it's kind of funny because the lyrics are a little contrasty to that, because he's talking about his friend being like on the nightly news for something and having to go away to Mexico. So, I mean, if he's having to go to Mexico, it's probably a federal crime that he's committed, which is a weird thing to have a song about. But I don't know. It's a very like jaunty sort of instrumentation on this one, and the fact that the lyrics kind of contrast it in this low key way, like if you don't think about it at all, it fits perfectly. But it gets contrasty as you like look at the lyrics without listening to the music. But I still like it. I would have to say this is, I don't know if it's top 5, but it's pretty darn close. I'd give this one a 4, I think. I really like this song. What about you?
I would say that it's probably, I'd say a 4 as well. It's in 4th, but I have it marked with Good Day as switchable 4th and 5th. So they kind of go either way. Honestly, sometimes I think it's just how I have it listened. Like, if I listen to one before the other, I think the mood swings either way. I love the bounce, man. Like, I like how it's like acknowledging something has, and if you don't listen to the context that you put it in, you'd be like, oh, he's just saying goodbye to a friend. Like, he's got to go take care of business or something like that. Like, okay, so the upbeat part of it makes sense. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It feels good to me. I like it. It kind of felt like saying goodbye to an old friend that you knew you'd see again. But, you know, sometimes that hurts and sometimes it doesn't. Like, some people are like, bye, don't care about you. And then other times you're like, oh, I don't want to see this person go. So I don't know. I like it. It's
I can
catchy.
see that. All right, let's move on to the penultimate track of the album, No Chances.
In my house, shoes in a foot race. In this house, we got feng shui. Get the door to blow you away. Flamethrower, you a switchblade. Feet planted on grip tape with my shoulders squared and my back straight. Got a good bass and a loose tongue. Notorious in the octagon.
This is a song, because you told me about it before I listened to it. You framed it as a rap song. So I went into it thinking this was going to be like Levitate, and I hated it.
I'm sorry.
And it was your fault. Because this is not, it's got rap-ish parts. Like the verse is spoken, it's not sung, but it's not like Levitate where it's like, you know, it's not
that
super
was
fast.
I should have put it in a different way, and I'm sorry. So, did that ruin it for you, or you were just in the wrong mindset?
So the first few times I listened to it, I was like, man, I don't know about this song. This might be the bottom of the list, like with Formidable. But as I kept going, I eschewed what you said because it was wrong.
I'm sorry.
It's not a rap song.
That was my fault. And you know what? Some of that was because I was getting a little bit of it confused with some of the other more rapical lyrics in some of the other songs. So that was kind of my fault. It was the bass drop that really like somehow clicked that in my head. Okay.
I mean, it's fair. Like I said, spoken word verses, and the chorus has some, like, I mean, if you're familiar with typical rap music, it's got, you know, stuff about guns and drugs and hookers and murder. And the line in the chorus, we got bodies every day, kind of reminds me of something like that. Yep. I know that's probably not what they're talking about, no, but it does evoke that sort of same, like, lyricism, I guess, whatever. But I could see where you're coming from. It's not necessarily the way that I would frame this song. This might be in my top 5. I really have to go through, and maybe we'll have to pause the podcast so I can make a definitive track list.
Okay.
So we can kind of
'cause I'm gonna
compare
go
and contrast. Yeah.
Top to bottom on mine.
But this is probably in my top 5. I'll have to think about it. But yeah, I'd say it's probably my top 5. I really like it. It's probably a 4.25, I'd say.
Okay. All right. So, one of the things that got me right off the bat, I loved the feng shui lyrics in the beginning. Okay, fine. You could get past that real quick. What really got me was the feet planted on grip tape, a good beat, and a loose tongue, notorious in the octave. That whole thing. That sold it right then and there. That was the song with attitude on this album. And that was like him saying, damn, I'm good. Like, he's owning it. And it's one of the few songs that I feel like he's owning in this album. Some of them I could see your point where it sounds like he's kind of got a little lack of emotion in some of them. And some of the music videos don't help. Choker, I could kind of see why you would say that, because it is kind of like a dull looking, like depressing looking music video at times.
Yeah.
He just looks bored. And I get what you're saying. This one, he totally owns it. 100%. He knows how he is. He knows he's good. And I just love it. So it ended up in second place for me. Only because Choker beat it. But honestly, this one was the top one for a while.
That's fair.
Love this song.
All right, let's move on to the final song on the album, The Closer, Redecorate.
I don't wanna live like this. 'Cause the last thing I want to do is make my people make decisions, wondering what to do. Oh, should I keep it on display or redecorate?
This is another one where for a while there, I wasn't 100% sure how I felt about it. It's fine. Or it was fine. But it didn't, like, stand out to me. And maybe that's because I was expecting... And it still kind of doesn't live up to the last album's closer, Leave the City. I love the way that Leave the City wraps up that entire album. It's like a perfect arc. This is a fine closer. I don't know what I would put here at the end if I was to put something different. I don't know if this should have been the closer, or if maybe they should have figured something else out. It doesn't give me a feeling of finality, but I still, in spite of that, taking it completely out of context of the rest of the album, I still really, really, really like that. This is, like, I think Formidable was trying to go here, but this is, like, one of the only songs on this album, as far as I'm concerned, that really delves into some of the stuff that the last albums, like, really dig into. Like, Tyler's struggle with, like, depression and anxiety and all that other stuff, you know. It's something that everybody can relate to, and especially the way he frames it in this one. And I love the way, if you guys haven't seen the lyric video of this, I didn't see it until just now, but the first line in the song, let me see if I can find it in the lyric video. Hold on. Okay. Taking inventory of his life. If you look at the lyric video, the original way that he wrote it down, and I don't know if they're taking it like out of like the pages of his like notebook or whatever, but the original lyric that they have on here is taking inventory of my life, and that and it makes it poignant. But I think making it third person, not necessarily making it about himself, being able to craft this story around another person that's extremely similar to Tyler, probably is about Tyler, but not necessarily saying maybe more directing this towards the listener rather than kind of writing about himself, I guess. It feels like it helps the song resonate a lot more than it maybe would have had it been written a little differently. I would have to say this is I don't know. I don't know if it's top 5, but it's pretty darn close. It might be in the top 5. Well, we're definitely going to have to take a moment so I can really quickly draw up a track list. So we can kind of compare, but I really enjoyed this one. I think this is like a solid 4.5.
I don't know what it was about the song.
Mm-hmm.
I can't put my finger on it. It was a gut instinct that ended up doing what it did, in at least as far as my list goes. I had Redecorate like in the top 5. It was probably with something happened, because honestly, formidable, good God, this song and that song switch places, and I don't know why.
So you've got this. Wait, you've got
this one's not at the bottom. It's in
list?
10. It's in 10. It's a
That's kind of
damn good
surprising.
song, and I can't put my finger on it. There's a reason. There was a gut feeling. There was an instinct, but I don't know what it is. I'd have to listen to the entire thing and figure out what it was that I didn't like. There was something.
Okay. So let's pause for a moment. I will make up the track list. Why don't you listen to this again and see if you can maybe put it into words? Go ahead and give it a rating, and then you'll have to edit this out, obviously, but we'll pause. I'll make the track list. You listen to this, and then we'll come back and compare everything, and we'll see if you can figure out what made it switch.
I can't give it a rating right now because there's a reason. There's a reason something happened, and I don't know why. Based on what I just listened, the little snippet that we did, this honestly should be like a 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
So something happened, and I gotta pinpoint
All right.
it.
Let's pause. We'll come back. You'll finish talking about it. See if maybe your list has changed, and if it hasn't, whatever. But I want to know why it switched. So you go ahead and listen to it. I'll get working on the list.
Alrighty. So after further review, I know exactly what it was, and this is why I couldn't pinpoint it. We go from the first verse to the chorus to the second verse to the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
I like the third party perspective on it. I love the chorus in this. I thought it was me being finicky about how long the end is. I don't like how it's drawn out and we got the or redecorate twice. But that's not what bothered me. It's the bridge in this song. I don't feel like it belongs. It might be the lyrics, it might be the way it makes it feel like it's drawn out. Probably because it's almost the longest song in the entire album, where all the other ones are mostly short, snippy, to the point. This one's not, and it was the bridge. That's why it felt so much for me.
I don't want to go like
bad.
this.
No. That's part of the chorus. It's the with the bells and the whistle scaled back, like an isolated track. It felt like an isolated track to me. It felt like for some reason it didn't belong. And he feels trapped when he's not inebriated, and fair to say he's fairly sedated most days of the week. He might have made it if he had lived on a different street. I repeat, scaled back and isolated. He says he's like an open schedule, but he mostly hates it. If you're running to his room, take a breath before you break in. Put your ear up to the door, tell me, can you hear him saying? And then it goes back into the chorus.
Well,
I don't know why I don't like it.
That's just another verse, David. It's not a bridge.
They have it listed as a bridge. I don't know.
Do they? Oh, well, they don't know what they're talking about. That's another verse. A bridge is what transitions from a verse to a chorus. This is definitely just a third verse.
Is it just the third verse?
I guess I can see where you're coming from, but I don't know.
Then I don't like the third verse.
It doesn't do anything bad for me. I like all
I'm
the
not
verses.
saying it's bad. It's just that's the reason why. There's reasons everything else got elevated above.
Okay.
Because nothing in the song or anything in this album, unlike you with formidable. Good God, why can't I say it? Whatever. Point made.
Okay. All right. So let's compare our lists here. We'll just go straight down the list. We'll go 1 through 11. I'll say my first one, and then you go, and then we'll just trade off and see kind of where we differ. All right. So number 1 for me, already said it, The Outside.
Okay, and I can understand that, and it ended up being choker for me.
Okay. Number 2, Saturday.
No chances.
It's fair. It's fair. Number 3, Mulberry Street.
Shy Away.
Okay. Number 4, Shy Away.
Bounce Man.
Okay. Number 5, Redecorate.
Good Day.
Number 7, No Chances.
You skipped number 6.
No, number 6, Bounce Man. Sorry, that's why I skipped it.
Gotcha. Formidable. There we
Okay.
go.
Number 7, No Chances.
Saturday.
Number 8, Choker.
The Outside.
Number 9, Good Day.
Mulberry Street.
Number 10, Never Take It.
Redecorate.
And number 11, Formidable.
Never Take It.
I think I had maybe some stronger feelings about some of the stuff on this album than you did, because I definitely didn't like Formidable as much as you did. I don't want to go and say that I hate it, because it's fine, but honestly, I wouldn't miss it if this album had been released without it. So, take that for what you will, I guess. Overall, I'd say this album probably gets... It's probably a 4 out of 5 for me. That's putting it kind of high.
It's like a 3.75. The
Yeah,
entire
I'm kind of
album.
leaning more towards that for me too.
Okay.
But I'll stick with the 4, just to be generous.
The entire album, and this is why it was so easy for me to rate this album. It's all middle of the road compared to everything else. There are certainly songs that I don't like. Some of them you like. Pet Cheetah is one of them that comes to mind. I never really liked that song for whatever reason. You loved it.
Oh yeah, it's a great song. I love it.
There are definitely others from them that I skip them. I don't listen to them. But there's not but 3 songs on this list that I actually want to put into my like top 21 Pilots rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because they're all solidly middle of the road. And I think that's why I had an easy chance of rating it, because besides the top 5, which was solid top 5 for me, there was no arguing that they were the top 5. Everything else is just like, you could easily switch them up. They just laid where they laid for no fault of their own. It was just something else was better.
I think I definitely had a more solid top and bottom than you did, but you're right. My middle could probably, depending on when I listen to the song, like if it's in the context of the album or not, it could probably fluctuate. Formidable is still probably down at the bottom for me. Never Take It, probably still solidly at 10, but everything from 5 to 9 probably shifts all over the place, honestly.
So
They're all fine, but
I would say then we're pretty much in agreement on Never Take It.
Yeah.
And what? Shy Away, Choker, and maybe Bounce Man?
I've got Choker a lot lower than you do.
You do.
Yeah. Shy Away I can agree with you on. I think you had that at 3 and I have
that
at 4.
at 3. What's your 4 and 5? There was one of them in there.
Redecorate was 5. 4 was Shy Away.
Shy Away. Okay, Shy Away, Never Take It, because Never Take It is close to our bottom. Shy Away is close to our top. You put Saturday and The Outside way higher than I did, and I kind of figured that was the way it was going to work. I've got Formidable at 6, and then Saturday and The Outside are 7 and 8. Honestly, both those could probably switch and go higher than Formidable.
Mm-hmm.
Which would then put mine more in line with yours. I don't know. No Chances just does not go lower for me. It really doesn't, and neither does Choker. And I think that's why we're so divided. My top 5 is so different than yours, but I refuse to move any of them.
Yeah, I can safely say that I probably wouldn't want to move anything of mine either. Yeah. So comparatively, comparing this album to Trench and to Blurry Face, and I know you probably haven't listened much to Vessel, but I'll probably compare it to that too. Compared to their past stuff, where do you think this ranks for you?
So, you're right about Vessel. Most of my, and this is because you were earlier to them than I was. Most of what I know from Vessel is because, well, you introduced me to them, so there was a starting point somewhere for you. Most of Vessel is what I know from you. Granted, a lot of them are pretty good, and we're always like headbanging to these damn things on road trips and stuff. Like,
that's
I can't tell you how many times
that we end
we've
up
listened.
putting on is 21 Pilots, and I'm glad.
Exactly.
The one thing that I'm glad for this album for is that we've got more music to put on that playlist. Even though we don't necessarily agree where everything might fall, I think we can agree that most of it is. I'm gonna throw on my 21 Pilots playlist, so I can't complain there. But comparatively, I would say before anybody shoves a knife down my throat or whatever, I haven't listened to all of Vessel. I know certain songs from it, and the songs that I do like are good. I'd probably put this ahead of Vessel, but if I had to list them in order from best to quote-unquote worst, we're going Trench, Blurry Face, Scaled and Icy, and then Vessel.
What's better, Trench or Blurry Face?
Oh, Trench, 100%.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4. I don't know enough about Vessel, so pardon me. I think I'm going to put Scaled and Icy at 3 and then Vessel at 4. So I'm going with your rating. Trench, number 1, for sure. I think Vessel's where I'd start having songs that I would put under the Scaled and Icy album. Like, Scaled and Icy solidly falls in the middle. There are certain songs in it that I would throw up there with the level of Trench, but most of it falls pretty much in the middle with a lot of stuff from Blurry Face. There's some really good songs in Blurry Face, and there's some that I just don't care about. Whereas almost everything in Trench, with the exception of really Pet Cheetah, and it's not that I don't like the song, I just don't like it the way you do. It's okay. I didn't understand it. I think that's my problem. And I still don't understand Pet Cheetah. But whatever. The Jason Statham thing really threw me off. Like, what the heck is going on with that?
It's one of the best parts about the song.
I know. I think it's like, what kind of nonsense is he thinking of? But anyways, yeah, it's solidly in the middle, but it's not replacing Trench.
Yeah. I think that's why I was so down and out on some of the songs too, is because we had such, I don't want to call it a perfect album because Trench has its downfalls, but it's so close to perfect, especially as far as this band is concerned, that it kind of hurt to see them go a little backwards in some ways. Like, I do like a lot of the songs on this album, but I can honestly say that there wasn't one song on this album that I didn't have to listen to more than once before I liked it. My first impressions for every song were negative. And that was not the case for basically anything on Trench. There might have been one or two where I didn't like it first and it took me a couple listens, but everything on Trench, especially the singles that they put out, I was 100% down with as soon as I listened to it.
I think you and I have to go back and rank Trench. We don't have time to do it this episode, but
yeah,
I think we
well,
have
maybe
to do that.
maybe in like a few months we can go back and do a little album retrospective. We'll
and
have
then
to
we
give
can
it some
kind
time.
of update our feelings on Scale the Nicey too.
Yeah. We'll give it like 3-4 months. We've got some time in between, but I think it would be a good idea to go back and maybe express kind of how we feel about Trench, and then, like you said, update our feelings a little bit on Scale to Nicey.
Yeah.
But
I'm with you on that feeling. I don't want to say, gosh, this is going to hurt. I don't want to say that it felt like a letdown. It's taken some time to make that thought go away, because it kind of did. Like, I was listening to it in the car the day it dropped, the morning it dropped, on the way to work. He reminded me, and I actually didn't forget. And it was so short, I actually got to listen to the entirety of the album. And honestly, had we not listened to the singles, I wouldn't have liked the album at all that first day. Like, it took a while to even get Shy Away and Choker on the level that they were for me. But that was because we listened to them for like 2 weeks before this album came out. I didn't like any of these songs at first. And I didn't like those two at first either. And I remember having that discussion with you, and I'm like, oh, Lord. But we hadn't really talked about the album as a whole. It felt... it was different, but it didn't feel different in a good way to me at first.
Yeah. See,
I don't know.
The thing with Trench was it felt like a step forward from Blurry Face. Like, it had a lot of the same elements.
Huge.
But this, especially considering the track list, this is all over the place. The only song that even sounds similar to what was on Trench is Redecorate. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the song, but it's not like... it would feel out of place if it was on Trench. Honestly. It's fine. It's a good song, especially considering this album. But... everything else does not feel like a step forward from Trench. It feels... I hate to say this because this band is one of my favorite bands of all time. It feels a little bit like a step back.
See if maybe this resonates with you. Especially, there's some kind of like overarching storytelling involved with Blurry Face.
Yeah.
But so many of the songs in Trench complemented each other so well. Jumpsuit and Nico and the Niners completely complemented each other. One mentions the other.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like an overall like masterful storytelling piece from them. Whereas this one felt really plucky and all over the place, and like I get that he probably the stupid mess of a pandemic really screwed a lot of things. It screwed our movies up. It kind of screwed up plans for what, like, people. It definitely screwed up plans for people that wanted to go out and hang out with each other. But it even, like, kind of took away a little bit of what we wanted to do last summer. And just, this kind of feels like a continuation of that. Like, it took something else from me, and I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it felt like it took away a really good album.
I feel like maybe the fact that he probably produced this all at a home studio doesn't necessarily help, because Trench, and I'm not saying that this wasn't necessarily a big budget album too, because there's producers behind it and everything, but you also have him and Josh in the studio at the same time, plus producers and engineers and everything like that. So you don't have Tyler syncing the stuff up in his basement studio all alone. Not necessarily saying that his ideas are bad or anything, because clearly this band is his baby. Yeah. It's extremely evident in Trench and in Blurry Face, and even in some parts of this album, but collaboration is key. 100%. I feel like if he had the chance to play off of somebody else besides himself and maybe Josh every once in a while, we would have gotten a different album. And like I said, I don't hate this album, but it's, in some ways, it does feel a little bit like a step back from Trench, as far as I'm concerned. Hate me if you want to, but
no, well, so, okay, maybe the diehards will.
Yeah, that's mostly
overall,
what
you
what
and
the
I
message
are
is
thinking
framed
the same
for.
thing. I don't know. It's we couldn't have more vastly different opinions about the songs of the album, but the album in itself, in its entirety, compared to everything else, we're right back on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay, here's a good question. Given that it can't happen anyways, Trench made me want to go back and see them at a concert again, 100%. Does Scaled and Icy do the same thing? Would you see them in concert for this?
Probably not. I'm gonna be real honest. Probably not. There's not. I honestly can't think of a song on here that I want to see them play live. As much as I like some of the songs on here, just doesn't feel like I'd want to see them play any of them live. Honestly.
The problem that I have, like, if this was this was it, and this is all you had, and this was all that was going to be in the concert, yes, okay, I could see some of these live. But they're going to get mixed in with everything else from Trench and probably some of Blurry Face and maybe even some of Vessel. Because they still had some of the earlier songs from both those albums with the last tour, which was supposed to be mostly about Trench.
Well, when we
They'd
went to
feel
go
like a
see it,
letdown.
when we went to go see it, all they had was Trench stuff, except for the very last song, Trees, which is what they close every concert with.
Yeah.
But that one I could see. That one was such a beloved album. Everybody wanted to hear their favorite song in concert, you know?
Uh-huh.
This just isn't one of those albums I can see everybody saying, I have to see this song live.
Yeah, I gotcha. I agree. That sucks.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Because, like I said, I love this band to death, and it kills me to think that something that they put out isn't like a step forward or isn't necessarily 100% to what I know they can do. But dude, this I don't know.
This isn't what we
hurts
wanted.
me. It hurts me to say it, but it's the truth.
This isn't what we wanted. It felt like a letdown.
It does feel a little bit like a letdown.
And
but
now
like
I'm really afraid to see, like, okay, I've said it with the singles before. I thought the singles weren't the best songs in Trench, and they weren't. There was plenty of other good things. One of those two you might put as your top. Probably Nico and the Niners. But Jumpsuit you would probably throw in the middle for your list, right? There was definitely other songs in that album that elevated themselves way higher.
Yeah. I like
It
Nico
kills
and the
me to
Niners.
say
Chlorine
that
is,
two of these songs were in the top 5 of mine. Like, there was nothing better.
Yeah. I can say that at least I thought that there were some songs that were better than the singles, but you're right. It's a hard race to run for these songs. There's not, I don't know, man. There's just not a whole lot that can be said
Yeah.
other than what we've already said. So I don't know. I think that's where we're gonna have to leave it, because I don't want to keep going down this path of like depression,
Reminiscing.
because I think we both still really enjoy the band, still love the last albums, still really enjoy this album. Like, tomorrow I'm still probably going to go down the road listening to this album, because there's no reason not to. I still like it, but
It's not going to turn me off
yeah,
from
but
the band at all.
But I think I don't know if there's anything else that we need to say about it. It's a fine album. If you haven't listened to it, I'm not going to tell you to stay away. You should go listen to it. You know, there's probably something on here that you'll like. Is it going to be a home run for everything? No, but it's a good album. I'd say you should probably listen to it.
That's
All right. Well, with that being said, I think we've rambled on long enough. We did have trailers that we were going to watch, but we've been recording for an hour and 40 minutes now, so we're going to leave it here. We'll just have to watch the trailers next time.
Yeah, we filled a lot more time than I thought we were going to. Probably because we had such vastly different opinions.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to catch us on our next episode. Probably just going to be a regular one. So, yeah, watch out for that. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Podcast Period. This episode was hosted and produced by Ben, co-hosted and edited by David. You can contact Ben on Twitter at BenPlaysVidges. That's Ben Plays, VIDYAS. And you can contact David on Twitter at Car6by16. If you'd like to chat with us about any of the topics on this episode, you can hit the show up at Podcast Period on Twitter, or shoot us an email at podcastperiodpodcast@gmail.com. That's all for this episode. We'll see you next time.
This was a Nerdgasm Podcast production,
Well, that was another in a long series of regrettable life choices.
served at nerdgasmpodcast.com.